Okay, with this video, I want to just give an overview of some of the GIS tips and tricks for our Salt River geologic mapping project. So first you want to download the file as I've shared with you the link, and then go ahead and extract it. It's important that you extract this and then delete the zip file because sometimes people try to run these software from inside the zip file and it causes problems because it has a lot of temporary files. So we've uncompressed that. I'm just going to delete this and then I'll double click on this. And so what you see in here are these two files. This first one here, Salt River Mapping, is the ARC map document, and then the Salt River 3D is the ARC scene document. So those are the documents that sort of point to all of the different files that we're using. Inside of the shape files, this is where the points, lines, and polygons are that you're going to be filling out. The orthophoto is in here. This is the 1 or 10 centimeter per pixel orthophoto of the study area, and then in the DEM folder are the contours, 5-meter contours, and then the DEM and the hill shape. So let's go ahead and start with the mapping. Okay, that actually took a little while to open, but now you see I'm here in the ARC map, and I've got the hill shade with the underlying or the overlying fragments of the mapping. So I want to start with a little tour. First, if you don't see it, you can click on this to get the table of contents out. So this will let us kind of look at our layers and turn things on and off. So the first thing is a little bit of a tour. So you see the points are either field trip stops or observations, and you can, if you get the little eye tool, you can click on them like this one, and it'll identify, and you can see in this case, I hit it close enough and it says field trip stop for overview. And then FT stop is what I'm using, that particular attribute, the point type, to do the color coding because or symbolization. And because here, for example, this one is an observation, these are hints for you. So in that location, it looks like blue point cover, or in this location is granite, or this one granite, and this one's granite. So the next thing are the lines. So this is the line right here is the contact certain. This is the line contact approximate. And then these are the polygons, and they're color coded, and so appropriately. So they're ready. You just will have to add more. And then right now in the imagery, if I turn this on, you can see I have the orthophoto. And so this is a 10 centimeter per pixel orthophoto, so that means it's been corrected for the topography. And so we can zoom in, see this boat ramp area. You see these cactuses here. You get a sense of the resolution. And then underneath them, if you turn it off, that would be the hill shape. So if you click on the world, you can zoom back out. Also, if you click on bookmarks, overview is one that kind of sets us back to this view. And if you start going to a certain place where you want to get to it easily, you can create a bookmark. Just zoom to that area. Like if I get the magnifying glass and I zoom in over to this stop 4, I can say bookmarks, create bookmark, and call it stop 4 area. And so sometimes it's just a fast way to move around. So if I go to overview, I'm back here, stop 4 area, there I go. So something handy for moving around. Okay, so before we start mapping, let's just do some exploring, and you want to really compare the photographs that I've provided as well as the video overview from the drone of this area and try to just get used to what's there. Just do some exploring. So for example, let's zoom into this area, and here we can see what I mapped as the alluvium is yellow, and then and this stop number 1 right here, which is one that we see in the drone video, and then here would be the hill slope where there's granite, the YXG, and up on top here, stop 2, is the field trip stop where we look at the mesa terrace surface and the side topography here where the gravels are exposed. One thing you can do is you can turn on, for example, the contours and sort of compare, oh, okay, so it looks like that contact is roughly parallel to roughly horizontal, kind of parallel to the contour. So that's useful to be able to check. But what might be more valuable is to look a little bit closely at the, and you can turn off the polygons, zoom in and just look at the units. What characterizes them? Because when you have to write the description, I want you to describe, since you can't go in the field, you have to see what's here. So this yellow unit here, the alluvium, is clearly the active channel. It's low in elevation, has a certain vegetation on it. Then we go into the granite, and what's important to notice is there's actually some kind of outcrops of granite in this valley here, some lighter color material, and then also on some of these slopes we get, oops, let's zoom back out. Let's use our overview and then zoom in here. These would be bare patches of granite also here. And this is a slope where there's a bunch of debris that's coming down from the overlying mesa gravels. And so we have to sort of manage that. But then when we get into the mesa, there's going to be gravel on the side here, and then this flat surface that defines the top. And you can see the people up there for scale who are in our picture. And you can see some other features there, but you get a sense of the smooth topography, and again, the differences in the vegetation that define that surface. So I really want to emphasize that, because we can't go in the field, but there's a lot of material, a lot of information you can take away from the units that are as they're presented in the different mapping-based data sets. Okay, one other thing that's extremely valuable that we can do is cut some topo profiles to help understand the relative topographic positions of some of these features, how rough they are. So what you want to do is, if you go up here to Customize, Toolbars, and get out 3D Analyst, and you can dock it up here if you'd like. And then the other thing is, you may need to, now if this refresh starts to be too annoying, just turn it off. Extensions, you may need to go in the first time and turn the extension on for 3D Analyst and Spatial Analyst. Just check that those are checked. Okay, so what we can do, and on my screen it's a little hard to see, but just make sure that you choose the TIFF, not the shade, the TIFF, the digital elevation model. And then if you click on this little symbol here, you can use it to cut a topographic profile. So you click once at one end, and I click at a second time for another vertex, or I double click to end it. Now along that line then, if I click over here, I can get a profile graph. And so that's a topographic profile along that line. And there's a little bit of distortion in this topography. It's not perfect, but you can get a sense of, okay, there's the river, and then it goes up onto this surface, and then up onto what we'll see is the blue point, across the road, and then up onto what is going to be the mesa terrace. So you can use that in many places, and each time you just get rid of it, you click and you can delete, just hit the delete on your keyboard and you do another one. And you can use this to help understand kind of what the relationships are. So click once to start, second time for any vertex, and then double click to end it. There's a little profile right there. And so we can start to see, okay, well that looks like it's about minus 20 to minus 6. These are relative elevations, so it's a 14-meter high scarp right there in that area by stop 4. Okay, let's do some editing. So what that means is to update these existing shapefiles of either points, lines, or polygons. So the main thing is you want to do Customize Toolbars and get the Editor toolbar out, and you can have it floating or you can attach it. I don't think you need to check the extensions. Let's just double check. Nope. So then what you do is you go Start Editing, and if you're all in the right directory, you'll just see these. You don't have to pick. I sometimes click polygons just to be safe. And sometimes you'll get an error about coordinate systems, but just say, okay, it's just a warning. And then the other thing you're going to want to do is do this Editing Windows Create Features. And so this is then kind of where we can keep things nice and simple. And if we want, for example, to add a point, Like let's say we were like, well, there's really good exposure of the uh, blue point cover unit. I could just click like right up here. Click once, and I put that point in. And then what you would do is you go right click on that particular item, and you see what we call the attribute table is open. And sometimes let's just double click. We'd want to do open attribute table. And then this particular entry, we could say, this is, well, let's just say blue point cover. And then if I tab and I say that's a observation, and a lot of times you want to just copy and paste these items so that they're exactly the same. When I push enter, then it knows to display it accordingly. So if I click back here and if I say, okay, let's do editor, stop editing, I want to save my edits, and I come back and look, that point is there with the right kind of symbol. So it's really good to be consistent like that. So let's go and add another line. Let's zoom in here to this zone, and you can see here. So again, let's get started, start editing. Click here on polygons, and we can say, well, it looks like this line right here is maybe continues a little bit further along. So we just click on lines, and we would do construct, and you can see it's snapping to the end there, which means it's going to automatically connect. I'll make a comment about that in a minute. And now I can just add a couple more vertices. I'm just clicking with the left mouse button, and then if I double click, it's drawn. And then same deal, let's go in and do lines, open attribute table. And then that one we might say, well, we're not so confident about it. Let's do a contact approximate. So I'm just selecting it, and I'm copying, right click. I'm going to highlight it, and then if I just do Control C on my Windows machine, I can then copy it, and I'll just paste it in there, and then it's exactly right. So just be careful that you don't get a space in here. Sometimes you'll get one of those. So I say enter, and now that line is set as an approximate line. And if I click elsewhere, like if I get this item, click over here, and I'm not selecting that, you can see it's got the right pattern. So that's how those work, and it's really important when you're editing. You want to save often, and so you just save your edits. But what's also key to understand is that the creation of these features, as you're doing with the editor, and saving them as you do here, is not the same as saving the overall project, because only saving to the editor here will save your features that you're creating. The saving the project just saves how's it displayed, the view, and everything. So it can be a little bit confusing, but you want to be extra careful about that. Another thing that you can do is when you are editing, is you can pick a line. You see let's say we want to change it, want to move maybe this end point in a little bit, and then we might click over here. If I just click away, if I highlight it once, if I right click, I can, I guess I have to double click, I can insert a vertex. And so you see I can insert, and then I can sort of move that vertex out a little bit. And that can sometimes be a really useful way to update your lines or modify the lines I've drawn if you don't like them. Okay, so then let's use our bookmarks and go back to overview. And one thing you might see is, well, why are the polygons not there? Well, it's because they're not displayed. So if I click on SR polygons, then they appear. So don't be confused by that. So let's go in and do a little bit more editing. Let's go in where we were before. And so you can see here that let's just check if we are. Yep, we're editing. So I can get this little tool, and I could say, well, how do I feel about this polygon? Maybe I don't want to just draw a new one. So if I click on SR polygons, polygon, and I just click kind of along that line, and then I come out. Let's go out to here maybe. I can draw more of the polygon in that, and then here again, just like we've done before, let's go to open attribute table, And so that I'm extending the Lehigh. So you just go up and find where Lehigh Terrace and Gravel is, copy that, Control C, come down here and paste it, enter. Actually, let's paste it here. There, I'm not sure which the one what that one is. So if you find one you're like, I don't know what this is, you can click on it and you can say zoom to selected. And so I think it's confused. Maybe there's some very small vertex or something. So if I right click there, I can say delete selected. Now let's go back to the one we just drew, zoom to selected. So I'm right clicking to get that to appear, and there I've got some more of the blue points. So let's get out of that tool. So you don't see the boundary there, so this is important. We can build these units by adding polygons as we go, and we don't have to worry about the boundaries. So contacts are different than the polygons defining the other boundaries. So now as I look at this, I might say, you know what, I think that this over here is the alluvium. So I'm going to go ahead and move this in here, and I'll create a new line along here and say, well, maybe it's kind of right where I see the difference between this kind of rougher surface and the one that's been more eroded recently will be the boundary. And so then I can go up here and do contact approximate again, paste, enter, and now let's add another polygon. So let's go over on this side. And just for convenience, I'm just gonna click a little bit like this, let you add some more. So then I'll go to here, alluvium, copy, paste, enter, and I keep going. So important other item that you want to be aware of is if you go to editor snapping options. So what this does is as you move your cursor within, in this case, 25 pixels, it snaps to a feature that existed before. And that's really valuable. It saves you a lot of time when you're having to draw these boundaries and that go along pre-existing lines. So, but if you feel like it's too much, you can make this number smaller. If you feel like you're not snapping well enough, you make it larger. All right, that should provide you enough information to map. And you have to remember, you have to cover this entire map. And so you're going to want to build out all your lines and polygons to make the complete map. Now, what we've been working in is called the data view. And so this is kind of the most convenient for zooming around and doing your work. But if you come down to this small icon, we can click here to go to what's called the layout view, which is as if we're laying out the page to be printed. And so I've set this up for you that includes the explanation and the scale, and so it should be pretty much ready to go. I've also set it up so that the overview fits pretty well right there, but you can zoom in from here. You can do a lot of the mapping inside the layout view. It's just a little bit more convenient, so usually to do it from the data view. So anyway, once you're all done, you're going to want to turn this in, and you're going to want to do a couple things. The first thing is to export the map, and you can export as a PNG or as a PDF. You can choose those and give it a good name. I think you want to make sure this resolution is higher, like 300 DPI, and then save it in a good location. And there you go. And that'll make us a good file, and you can save several of them if you want to help illustrate some of your main points. The other thing is when you're done is I'd like to have two where you're working and take the shapefiles folder and right click and add them to an archive and save them, and then give that zip file to me, because inside here in the shapefiles folder is where all of your mapping is going to be located. ArcScene gives you an opportunity to view, kind of what you almost call in 3 dimensions, the site. And it sometimes is helpful when you're exploring around. You'll do all your mapping in ArcMap, but ArcScene is helpful to have open at the same time and just explore. Now it can be pretty computationally intensive, so if it doesn't work, don't be alarmed, or if it takes a while first to load, just be patient. Okay, so the way ArcScene works is you have an image, basically, like in this case, this is the ortho photo, and it's draped on top of the digit elevation model, so it gives us this kind of 3D view. And so you can zoom in. It's a little bit pixelated, but if I go in and I right click on it and I do properties, and you can change a few things here to maybe increase the quality enhancement, say apply. Okay, sometimes a step like that can take a long time, so you have to be very careful with ArcScene. The other thing is if you click on the base heights tab, you can see here it's floating on this custom surface, so don't change that. But if you click on raster resolution, you can see right now I've got it set at 5 meters per pixel, so it's not that many pixels. And you can change this if you want. You can say let's do 1 and 1, and so this should give it a higher sort of resolution representation. But we do have to be careful that it doesn't kind of blow up the memory, and so you just have to be careful. Okay, that took quite a while on my computer to run, but we can see it's a little bit higher resolution, and that will be helpful for us as we fly around to use it to get a sense of the three-dimensional relationships between the units and also the kind of patterns of the topography, vegetation, kind of micro roughness of each of those units. And so there it is. Now I've removed that in dialog box and get a really good sense of the sort of flying around in this landscape, what things look like. And I think you can use this to help with some of your mapping as you check where contacts are and so forth. Like this boundary right here between the mesa, terrace, gravels, and the underlying granite is, I think, fairly clear. Same thing over here, some granite coming back between mesa, terrace, and a little piece of the mesa as indicated by that nice dark surface there. So the other thing I've put in here for you that you can handle the same way is if you turn off that one, you can turn on the hill shade, and it's shown here. And same thing, you can change the resolution if you like, if that will help you. So good luck with all your mapping. I hope this has been helpful.